A camera is a black box that takes a measurement of how many light waves bounce off of what is front of the box for a specific amount of time. A photograph is not reality. Humanity is not measured in waves of light. As a professional photographer, I have the privilege to present humanity to an audience using the medium of a photograph. Today's photographic culture has far-reaching impacts that all too often have negative effects on everyone in the photographic process. As an industry and community millions strong, we need to make an effort to positively and visually impact our viewers and ultimately ourselves. The first point I want to make is that the photos that people post, comment on, view, like, share, they're all part of an industry. Now, to quote one of my favorite photography professors from Minneapolis College, Professor Paul Sinkler, he says that Facebook owns the copyright to any images posted within their conglomerates. Your Instagram photos do not belong to you under law. Facebook can sell them, and they do. Now, to give context to how big this industry is in the digital scope, this is a quote from David Taylor of 2020, from the year 2020 in January. Among social media, Facebook dominates with 2.3 billion active users, while Instagram boasts 1 billion, and Twitter users number 330 billion, according to Statsia 2019. Many others, including WeChat, Reddit, TikTok, Snapchat, Pinterest, and more, have combined user bases in the hundreds of millions. Clearly, social media are a powerful force in today's society, and businesses are increasingly harnessing this power to promote their products, strengthen consumer relationships, and shape consumer experiences. And to kind of springboard off this quote, photos are not just photos in the internet, they are commodity, and any company worth their salt who wants to make money uses photographs. And this is applicable to magazines like Sports Illustrated, to fashion companies like Gucci, or even everyday brands like Target. They all use photographs to create the user experience and to make money in the end. Now, to give you some reality on the industry, no photograph is published or posted without having been through some sort of software to either catalog it or to like either fix it or to make the narrative that the company wants it to have. Now, and one of the famous softwares that is used in the photography industry is Photoshop by Adobe. And there was a study that I'm going to be referencing in a minute, and the whole point of the study was gathering testimony from women who were affected by in their high school years by having routinely viewed heavily photoshopped images of women in the media. And this is by a researcher on. The majority of the participants perceived the heavy use of Photoshop in fashion and beauty advertising as common, but also misleading and unethical in that it alters reality and sets unfair expectations of what people are supposed to look like. Although some participants were in favor of using Photoshop in advertising for general enhancements of images by removing minor details such as lighting adjustments, a number of respondents' interpretations were negative, and their rationales were deeply grounded in their prior experiences and memories of feeling pressure to obtain these unrealistic bodies that they were as they were teenagers. Now, as a photographer and anyone getting into this industry, we never start out to say, oh, we want to make people's body images feel bad, or we want to make them feel that they're not wearing the right clothes. We want to make them feel less than. That's not what we go into this industry for. We want to have beauty and share it with the world, but not in a negative way. Beauty can be positive. Now, photography is influential and valuable, and those are good things, but the resource of images must be managed responsibly and practiced ethically as any industry. My next point is that the reality of our culture is based on the narrative of photographic media driven by humans' need for visual social comparison. I'm going to be getting into some brain science here for a minute. And this is from Polish researcher Marta Jablonski from February 2020. By spending a vast amount of time viewing others' posts, users of social media are inevitably drawn into the process of social comparison, especially when using social media systems dedicated to visual content such as Instagram. And moving on to kind of color that a little bit more, Maurer and Jacobson in 2014 previously stated, tourists prefer sharing visual content, i.e. photos, over narrative, text, or textual content. So this means that social media posts with photographs are preferred over just sharing and typing up what happened in the event that you want to share. Now, going onto the brain science of it, and this is from, again, Taylor's research in 2020, people make two types of comparisons, upward or downward. Social comparisons can either inflate or lower self-regard. Now, in layman's terms, this means that social comparison makes us feel things. And as humans, when we find things that make us feel things, we like to do them over and over and over again to replicate those feelings. And in this replication of these feelings are the neural pathways in our brain. Those neurons are strengthened, and it's more likely that we will do the same behaviors again and again. And to color this upward or downward social comparison, to give a definition and an example, a downward comparison is looking down at an image of someone and building those negative feelings to make you feel better. And a prime example of this is in the movie Mean Girls with the burn book. That is a direct example of downward social comparison, where you are socially comparing yourself to that photo in the bird book and making yourself feel better because, oh, that girl might have buck teeth, or that guy might have weird glasses. And then an example for an upward social comparison is, let's say I am scrolling through Instagram and I see a really cool car that someone owns and they photographed, and I would say to myself, I want to do better. And I want to become better so that I can have a better job, so that I can afford that car because it looks awesome. And again, we're not talking about the good or the bad in this. This is just the direction that human thoughts are taking, upward or downward, with the stimulus of a photograph. Now, based on the comparison and the trend showing in Jablonski's article, that systematic exposure to social media creates negative effects such as anxiety, depression, and self-objectification. And I could go on to more things. But a point to make is that social media does not cause mental illness, but it can exacerbate the effects. Like, you might have anxiety, or you might be predisposed to anxiety, but the repeated exposure to social media and looking at these images, it can help exacerbate symptoms of the mental illness. Now, another main point that I want to make is that what people see in camera or phone screens, it's so easily to augment and make it an altered image and to view it. According to research from the University of Wisconsin, it states that the trend in China is that cameras apply face tuning software automatically, whereas in the United States, the apps force the users to turn a button or swipe or do something to manually turn on the face tuning in the camera app. And another part of shop talk is wide-angle lenses on standard phone cameras distort visual perception of 3D objects, causing them to be recorded as rounded or bulbous than what they really are, as opposed to longer telephoto lenses that make the same object that's being photographed flatter in distortion. Now, most standard and popular apps have filtering and editing capabilities with versions of augmented reality and selfie filters. And again, these apps include Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat. I'm sure people who are younger than me can probably name more, but there's a lot out there. And personal self-identification is also tied to the use of our personal digital devices. And this is giving us an unprecedented outside exposure to media in the history of ever. Typically in the old days, like even as recent as the 1940s and 50s, to see something, to see a piece of media, you would have to look at a piece of paper or a newspaper that would have to be shipped out or something. Really, the digital age has really pushed outside exposure to media, and there have been negative effects. Now, photography, when viewed repeatedly, can hit and create neural pathways that need to be understood as a mere measurement of reality, not the sum of it. As an industry and a community of millions strong, we as photographers need to make an effort to positively and visually impact our viewers and ultimately ourselves. Today's photographic culture has far-reaching impacts that all too often have negative effects on everyone in the photographic process. And we are more than just waves of light being captured by a camera. Leave that business to the stars. Let us radiate what is in our souls instead.